The First Omen is out in theaters, feature debut of director Arkasha Stevenson, starring Nell Tiger-Free, Ralph Ineson, Bill Nighy, and a very brief appearance from Charles Dance. It's a horror film and a prequel to the old Omen series, of which I have never actually seen a single movie before. The story starts in 1972 with a priest following the trail of a shady plot within the Catholic Church, which is apparently aiming to create the Antichrist through unholy breeding rituals. He learns that the priest's not the Antichrist. He learns that the girl was born years ago as a result of these trials, and the girl is now being sort of brought up and being closely watched by the church members who are waiting for her to become old enough to fulfill her role. And shortly after, we moved to an Italian orphanage, a Catholic orphanage run by nuns, where a young nun-to-be becomes interested in one of the orphans, a teenage girl who is weird and lonely and isolated from the others, and she has these strange outbursts of violence. And then strange and evil things begin happening around them. So I saw this film getting a very positive response online, and I have to say, I'm personally underwhelmed by it. There were some things to enjoy, sure, but I expected a lot more from it. And at the end of the day, I felt that there's a good movie in here somewhere that is bogged down by its flaws. But let's start with the things that I did like. The cinematography and the music are great, and they really help build the slow burn horror atmosphere, especially the sort of look of the film, and the shot composition and the camera work were impressive to me. Horror movies are often made on shoestring budgets, and it tends to show, especially in the technical aspects. Here it was clear that the people behind the camera knew what they were doing. I also enjoyed the central performance from Nell Tiger-Free. I thought she did a great job with the role. I liked Maria Caballero as the free-spirited roommate. I thought that the set design, the clothes, all the costumes, and the general feel of 1970s Rome was done very well. And some of the scares were okay. Now, here's what doesn't work. First and foremost, the plot relies very heavily on a surprise reveal, which to me was 100% obvious from 5 minutes into the film. So my surprise actually went the other direction. I was like, really? You're just doing this? This is kind of boring. I also thought that the plot details regarding the conspiracy and the goals of the villains were pretty silly. The film is also a little bit too long. I know it was going for the slow burn approach, but there was really no reason to stretch it to full 2 hours. There's some pacing to be improved for sure by trimming some of the fat. A lot of the scares went for the simple, loud jump scares, which I also think is an uninspired choice in general. Well, when you have built up the atmosphere so well, and you could just rely on that. And finally, I thought the ending, with all the different ways it so obviously tried to tie the story back into the First Omen film, was a bit too much. Like, I get it, this is the kid, this is where the first film starts, and then it just keeps going and keeps adding more and more stuff, and ends on a ridiculous scene, which is like a horror version of Nick Fury coming to talk about the Avengers Initiative. So yeah, I wish I liked it more, because I think there are things it does very well, and when it shines, it really shines. But unfortunately, the flaws weighed down for me, and I ended up feeling it was somewhat disappointing.